The Nigerian equities market is trading positive after a volatile session this week. Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, GTCO and Access Holdings are top stocks by volume. Mukhtar Mohammed, analyst at Assar Investments, joins me now for more market updates. Mukhtar, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Esther.
We're seeing some positive spin coming back to the market after an initial volatile couple of days. Talk to us about your thoughts on where the market is today. Just talking to an analyst from Vertiva, talking about the bank's earnings and some that we're still awaiting, a mixed bag of tier 1 and tier 2. Talk to us about sentiment at the market.
Well, I think sentiment at the market has to do with information. And when you are not getting information, then it tends to affect the market. We talk about corporate governance, and corporate governance is all about standing to your word. If you said then the results are supposed to come in 3 months' time, 3 months into the new quarter, and we are not getting it at that point, now it will have a negative effect on the market. And I think that's what we are seeing planning out at the market at the moment. Investors are not apprehensive about the result, even if they know the result will be good, compared to be based on what they've heard, what they've got seen from previous other results of other banks. But there's still that apprehension. Why is it taking this long for those results to go out, to come out into the market? Because by this time last year, we already have those results out, and investors were making position. So I think that's that sentiment that has happened. The market needed a trigger. And so you could see repricing, especially in the banking stock. This is happening because a lot of investors are now looking at that avenue for where to have high dividend yield. And that's why you've seen the volume that you are seeing in Asset and Zenith Bank, because investors is beginning to look at the dividend yield based the market and the fixed income space also. And knowing that fully well that this one could you can just cash in on this within the next 1 month, and then you take it back to the fixed income space. And you think the recovery will be faster because the result would be good. So investors are looking at that sentiment.
Yeah, well, that being said, looking at it from most angles, the numbers are good. That's from the banking sector, and I imagine investors will continue to take shelter in these stocks, as they continue to watch how policies impact on the economy going forward. But I'd like to talk to other sectors like insurance, for instance. The consumer goods, we know the story: inflation, pressure on the consumer wallet, companies, deciding how to, pass on, price increases onto the customers, etc. What are your thoughts on where the insurance sector is, for instance, and what the sentiments are?
Yes, insurance sector is one sector that I have not really killed. When I say I have not really meet up to expectation. That sector is largely played by volatile. It's played by volatility. It's also a sector whereby you have most of the traders in there because of the volatility and the price increment. So it's a sector that the numbers have not been very fantastic, so exception for some few stocks. You could just mention about 2 or 3, 4 stocks in that sector that are really driving the market. All the other stocks are quite very penny. And so what you see there is investors going in there, buy it at a low price and sell, because the dividend is not commensurate to the price. The corporate governance is still a little bit far behind. Some of them take 2 years to file in their audited report. Most of them are the ones that are fined by the exchange. So a lot of things are not right with the insurance sector, and it's not good, because that's one sector that you think should be driving the market. In developed market or developing market in the world, you see that the insurance sector are the key drivers of the market. And when you look at Nigeria with the population we have, with terms of insurance, you realize that insurance also have not done themselves a lot of good, maybe in the area of enlightenment, because most Nigerians, they are not on life insurance. Most Nigerians that you see on insurance are just vehicular insurance, and those were because they were forced into doing it. So I think the insurance sector is a gold mine, but I think they've not been able to plug into that sector very well. Most of the stocks in the insurance sector that are even doing well is just because most of them have the pension fund, they are pension fund administrators, and investors looked at that, and that normally help their number, because they are able to invest in other sectors of the economy. Outside of that, it's always very difficult to get the numbers very well and then make profit in the insurance stocks.
Well, that's sad to hear, because, and I just remember the reforms that were made, and the awareness campaigns, and just that momentum that the sector did have after following those reforms, to get people more aware and on board.
Yeah. Yeah, Esther, that came. If you look at the banking sector reform, where we are today is because of those reforms that happened. And after the banking sector reform, we had the insurance reform. And everybody was so confident that with that reform will come the change in the insurance sector, and that will be the key driver of the market. In most, like I said, in most developed markets or most developed economy, the insurance sector seems to even own some banks, but we're thinking we're going to get there. But unfortunately, I think the regulators were not on top of the game. Most of those insurance companies that we thought would drive the market, most of them have become moribund at the moment. And so that did not help the insurance sector also. I think the regulators were not as strong as what we had in CBN, and also up to this moment, I don't think they've gotten their regulators right, or maybe the personnel to really drive this sector. It's all about leadership in the insurance regulatory sector that is driving that sector down. Otherwise, that sector still remain a gold mine if they're able to get it back on track.
Okay, well, let's talk about stocks that are on your radar. I imagine, obviously, banks are among that list, but other names like Okomo, Presco, from the agriculture sector also come to mind. But let me not preempt you. Talk to us about your stocks.
Yes, I know what I say. When the market is good, you do comparable analysis. When the market is down, you do value analysis. So when the market is going to talk about comparable analysis, now you're talking about, okay, if I have to buy a Congo now 200, what's the dividend yield that will come from Congo? How much a Congo will buy? Much unit of Okumu can I have? Very good to go into the banking sector. If I buy an Access Bank at this price, how many unit of Access Bank will buy 1 unit of Okumu? In terms of price movement, how can Okumu move from the high of 200 to 300? At what time? How can then Access Bank move from 16 naira to 32 naira? Yeah. So those are when the market is good, you look at comparative analysis. But when the market is bad, then you look at value analysis. And so since now the market is good, so you are now looking at comparable analysis and then by and by value analysis sometimes. So if I'm now, I won't be taking a coma, I won't be taking preschool. I'll be going for the cheaper stocks because the market is good, the numbers are going to come out good. So definitely for the consumer space, I think one stock that we are not really looking at is Dangote National Salt. They are all coming together to make it Dangote. I think Dangote and conglomerate that will have both sugar, both pastry, and all come together. When this happened in Boa Food, we saw that Boa Food moved from a low of about 27 naira to a high about 35 naira as it stands now. And so we are seeing that playing out in that space now, where we are seeing NASCOM have moved to about 44 naira, but people are not taking note of it because now it's going to become a conglomerate. They are going to bring
Right.
all things together. Though we have the challenge of the consumer space, but not to forget that the government has also pumped money into the economy now. So we
Mukhtar.
may see a little bit of activity in the consumer space going forward.
All right. Thank you so much, Mukhtar, for that insight. We appreciate your time on the show today. Thank you so much. Mukhtar Mohammed, an analyst at Assar Investments.